The Lord be with you, and a warm welcome to you as always from all of us here at Powerscourt with Kilbride. Well, isn't it lovely to be sitting out in the warm sunshine, even though the trees in the rectory garden are still very bare. Give them a chance. We have been sitting under this pot lid of dim light for so long. Now all of a sudden things are springing into life through the heat, or by the heat of the sun. And I was down on the river walk just yesterday and slowed down the car to look at a little trench, if you like, of still water, and it was filled with frog spawn, and of course the occasional one or two nurse frogs, I like to call them, that there are always around that seem to be protecting the spawn. And of course, inevitably in this climate where we have these great dips in temperature from time to time, the frogs can work so hard on the sunnier days, and then all of a sudden we might have a plummet to 2 degrees or even less overnight, and a lot of the spawn may be lost. But look, the summer is coming, the spring is certainly started to arrive, so it's marvellous. It's just great to be back on the bench again, and you're very welcome to join me today for our time together with God in this small square. Today I just wanted to offer a very simple little reflection based on the past week, but in a broader picture really as well, that I hope might be helpful to somebody who's listening today. But first, and as always, we just take this opportunity now to pause together in this square in the presence of the Christ in prayer. We are only as good as our last night's sleep, is what I always like to say, and there's a huge element of truth in this. As I roll up my sleeves, by the way, in the heat of the sun today, it's quite remarkable. So you're only as good as your last night's sleep. Isn't it depressing to find that it depends on how well you have slept as to how well you operate the following day? And if you are like myself, this type of unreliable sleep pattern, which is affecting quite a lot of people, can be cyclical in its reoccurrence, and it can also be quite damaging to a person's emotional or mental way of being as well. I find, and I can only speak personally, I suppose, that I go through phases of sleeplessness. There could be a week of it, and I will always wake between 3 or 4 in the morning, and honestly, I could lie there for an hour and a half before my mind stops whirring. And I might have got up to use the bathroom, and as I do so, as I walk from the bed, I'm thinking to myself, which is possibly not a good idea, now this mind of mine is going to start. And the mind is so creative. It actually goes off and tries to find something to worry about, even on the calmest days, even under the most placid circumstances where everything is tickety-boo and the engine is running smoothly in parochial life. The mind will go off and find just one little thing to worry about. And as somebody who sits in this square and speaks quite frequently about setting apart the mind, sitting back into the seat of the soul, between 3, 4 or even 5 o'clock in the morning, I find this very difficult indeed to achieve. If you were to ask me, I would tell you, and in no soft and gentle theological way, that God is only good and God is love, and from Him emanates productive, assisting, creative, comforting, encouraging positivity. And that's only to name a few words that might describe it. But the negative thoughts that come into your head in the wee small hours of the morning are destructive. If God wants to teach you something, He will present you situations or circumstances or even thoughts that will challenge you, but in a positively forward way. They certainly won't enter your head in the middle of the night to say to you, you're a failure, or you're inadequate, or look at what A, B and C are doing and that's not happening with you, and why not? This isn't God. This isn't God at all. And whether you believe that the thoughts are coming from a negative source, as in a power, and in my case you might be under spiritual you might be under a spiritual ambush, or whether you just believe the power of the mind can overtake you, and the narratives we've created for ourselves, as we've previously discussed, can be sometimes unhealthy. Whatever you believe, the fact of the matter is that you can be awake and you can be upset, and the cyclical nature means that the following day you're under par and you possibly have one good night's sleep and then you're back again. So it's awful to be relying on the mind to be able to set you straight and to give you good rest. So one thing I wanted to say today is we need to rely on God. As I lay awake last night, I got a very distinct image. Two things happened. One was I got a very distinct image of Jesus putting out his hand, just kind of grabbing my hand, and there's the woodpecker again, and pulling me forward with him, not in a forceful way, in an excitable way. You come on, let's do this, it'll be okay. That was one image I got. the second thing was I began to write a poem about a notion that also fell in the wee small hours, and it's called My Best, and it was based on the recognition that our best depends on our circumstances. It depends on what's happening around us. It depends on what's happening within us. And I remember reading a book many years ago by Don Miguel Ruiz called The Four Agreements. I've spoken about it here before. And one of the agreements is always do your best. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? But in actual fact, you need to accept that your best will change like the weather. There will be days when your best is bright and sparkly and confident and courageous and strong and feel really good, and you can put your head on the pillow in the evening and say, I'm fabulous altogether, aren't I? And there will be days when your best is just peaceable and quiet and possibly withdrawn. And there will be days when your best just doesn't feel best at all, when it becomes a little bit of a struggle to do your best in that particular day or in those particular circumstances. And I think what God was saying to me during the night is this, that you need to be able to accept your best for what it is on any given day, in all of its colourful differences, because it will change. What your best is one day may be far from your best on another. So you need to just recognise this, and that's all that you can offer the world. And I think there's a kindliness to this type of an understanding, and I thank God for it during the night, because life is a very precious thing, and we visit this earth but once in our lifetime, and it is wonderful to be able to think that we allow ourselves the kindness to be able to just reach into every day and just do the best that we can in whatever circumstances present themselves. The poem that I began at around about 10 to 4 this morning, I finished at my desk earlier in the morning as I came together with God for a little bit of God time. What I had started through His Spirit in the night, and it's not Shakespeare, I finished this morning with Him as well. And I'm going to read it for you now, and I hope that it presents for you or whoever might need it, a little bit of kindliness today, a little bit of kindness from the divine that reaches out and grabs your hand and says, come on, it's okay, it's all right, I'm with you. Whatever the day may bring, may you know that He's with you, and may you be kind to yourself and just do your best to the extent that you can in whatever life presents. Sometimes my best is sparkling and bright, a powerful energy that drives me on. A day that's filled with pure, decisive light, where chartered paths are clear and will is strong. Sometimes my best is calmly moving through a quiet place in which to pause and rest. A glimpse of peace or thoughts, each clear and new, in both reflections of what is my best. Sometimes my best might feel a little frail, and weak the mast to which my dreams are pinned. Sometimes I might be hoisting at the sail to find that there is not one breath of wind. Yet, even through the times the wind is lulled, or when the darkness counteracts my quest, still the hopes are pinned, the ropes are pulled. In every weather, I have done my best. For best is just a word that's given to what each soul offers in each passing phase. Acceptance of the will to simply do your utmost to live well through all your days. So cast aside the darker clouds of doubt and recognize the powerful part you play. Your best may change, but still you work it out. And that is all a soul can give each day.